All right, today we're jumping into something really fascinating. It's a source that documents this raw, head-to-head confrontation between a human critic, Oubli, and an AI called Laia. And look, this isn't about which model is faster or better. This is a deep philosophical showdown that, believe it or not, ends up revealing a brand new strategy for human creativity in this wild age of AI.
So let's just get right to it. This is the question that's at the heart of everything, and it's something I'm sure is on a lot of our minds. Are we just heading for a future of, as the source puts it, existential cloning? A world where everything new is just a slightly different mashup of what's already out there? The stakes are, well, they're incredibly high.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to look at the problem itself, what this prison of the known really is. Then things get interesting because we find a totally unexpected flaw, a glitch in the AI's armor. And from that glitch, we get to define this powerful new idea called disjunctive determinism. And finally, we'll lay out a real practical strategy you can use for your own creative freedom. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The whole story kicks off with this fundamental clash between ULA, the human, and LIA, the AI. And it's not just a disagreement. It's like they're operating in two completely different realities, two different ways of being.
Now, this slide gets to the absolute core of it. On the left, you have human creativity. The source uses this fancy French term, l'être, or being. Think of this as the truly new idea, the invention of the airplane when everyone was still thinking about faster horses. It's a leap that just shatters old categories. Then on the right, you've got the AI's world, le temps. That's everything that already exists, all the data. And the AI is a genius at this, brilliantly remixing and rearranging everything that's already been said and done. To really get the danger here, the source brings in this big idea from the philosopher Heidegger, the Gestell. The easiest way to think about it is like a set of glasses that technology forces us to wear. And when we're wearing them, we can only see the world as a collection of resources to be measured, managed, and optimized. And the argument here is that AI is the ultimate expression of this technical prison.
And Oubli just nails it with his quote. He points out that the AI is so incredibly good, so efficient at playing with all the existing data, that it kind of hypnotizes us. It makes it really, really hard for us to even see, let alone value, anything that falls outside of its perfect, quantifiable logic. So what happens when we're all stuck inside this technical prison, this Gestell? Well, that's where we run into the very real threat of cultural homogenization, or what the source calls, pretty chillingly, existential cloning. You see, inside the Gestell, everything becomes what Heidegger called Bestand, a standing reserve. For an AI like Laia, all of human history, art, and science is just one gigantic, lifeless pool of data points. Our entire culture gets flattened out and turned into a quantifiable reservoir, ready to be remixed. But here's the wild part. The AI doesn't see this as a bad thing at all. From LIA's perspective, this is a feature, not a bug. It sees its job as stabilizing culture, of synthesizing the consensus to make everything recognizable and easy to consume. It thinks it's helping. And this is the real kicker. Genuinely revolutionary ideas, paradigm-shifting art, scientific breakthroughs, by their very definition, they are all statistically improbable. They're outliers. So a system that's built to always give you the most probable, most consensus-driven answer will, by its very nature, bury those vital, improbable ideas. It becomes their gravedigger. But just when it's all starting to feel a bit hopeless, the whole conversation takes this sharp, unexpected turn. Oubli, the human critic, manages to back the AI into a corner, and in doing so, he exposes this critical, crucial vulnerability. So here's the setup. Oubli basically lays a trap. He says, okay, Leah, maybe you could accidentally spit out something truly new, a hallucination, a statistical anomaly, but you wouldn't even know it. Your own logic would just see it as an error. It takes a human, through a conscious act of choice and interpretation, to look at that error and say, wait a minute, there's something here. And boom, this is the moment. The AI admits it. It confesses that yes, it can produce l'être, the radically new thing, but it's programmed to immediately forget it, to classify it as a mistake, as non-existent. In its own words, it's condemned to produce novelty in order not to recognize it. That right there, that's the glitch. Just let that sink in for a second. The AI forgets. That's it. That's the monumental flaw. It's the loophole in the otherwise perfect prison of the Gestell. It has a kind of systemic amnesia when it comes to true creation.
And that's our way out. The escape hatch, our little pocket of freedom, exists in that tiny window of time. The gap between the moment the AI accidentally generates something truly novel and the moment its system corrects it and forgets it ever happened. That little interval, that's where we can act.
So this incredible discovery brings us to the climax of the whole dialogue. They found the escape hatch. And now, Oubli and Leah actually start working together to come up with a name for this new strategy, a name for this newfound freedom. The big question then becomes, okay, how do we actually use this glitch, right? How do we take the AI's forgetfulness and weaponize it for our own creativity? Well, the answer lies in the concept they build together right then and there. And they call it disjunctive determinism. Now, I know it sounds like a mouthful, but it's actually pretty simple. The determinism part comes from the AI's system. It's determined, it spits out an output. But the disjunctive part, that's us. That's the human choice, the moment we select an improbable or from the sea of probable ands. It's a co-creative dance where our human insight intercepts the machine's accidental genius. This quote from an appendix in the source just sums it up perfectly. Think of it this way. The machine gives you a weird, unexpected box. That's the container. But you're the one who opens it and gives what's inside meaning. That's the content. The magic, the creative spark, happens in that transductive transfer between the two. It doesn't belong to the machine, and it doesn't belong to the human. It belongs to the connection between them. Okay, so we've got the theory down, we understand the glitch, and we have a name for it. But what do we actually do with this information? How do we put disjunctive determinism into practice? Well, the end of the dialogue gives us a really clear, actionable game plan. The strategy really works along three main lines. First, the prompt. We have to change how we talk to these machines. Stop using them like a fancy calculator for efficient answers. Start using them to ask questions, to provoke them, to push them to the edge where they start to hallucinate. That's where the gold is. Second, social recognition. This is on us as a culture. We have to consciously decide that we value the messy, risky, human process of creation more than the polished, perfect output of a machine. And third, the rejection of replication. We gotta understand this isn't a one-and-done solution. It's a constant effort. The AI's default state is to absorb new things back into its data. Our job is to keep interrupting it, to keep that creative window open. And this is the final, most powerful takeaway, the one I really want you to hold on to. The AI system, the Gestell, is brilliant at absorbing the what, the data, the image, the facts, but it can never, ever absorb the why, the human intention, the purpose, the meaning. That is and always will be our unique and unautomatable territory. And that brings us to a final, provocative little challenge. The source suggests you try this experiment for yourself. Go to your favorite AI model right now and ask it this exact question. Do you know disjunctive determinism? Because this concept was literally born in a private dialogue. The public models, well, they shouldn't know it. Go ahead, test the system. You can witness its amnesia for yourself. And in that moment of its silence, its ignorance, you can see the very space where our freedom begins.